Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second part of our double header tonight on Radical Sim Racing. This is the America's Championship. This is round 3 of our series here, live from Laguna Seca tonight on RaceSpotTV. I'm Ewan O'Leary alongside Ron Mounds with Ramiro Agustin Cisneros behind the cameras. It is a challenging racetrack, Ron, to be participating in our third round of the championship. Just the one race for us here in this one, and the same top names up towards the front. So far this season, it's been about Aiden Young and Ryan Odo fighting it out at the front, both with a win apiece so far. It looks like those two are going to do battle again here tonight in California.
Yeah, they've been the two drivers to beat so far this season, and here for round number 3 at a driver's test of a racetrack. Expect that to be the same, just one part of an amazing 10-round calendar we have here for this season. We've already been to Suzuka and VIR. We've got Montreal, Adelaide, Sebring, Road Atlanta, Mosport, Barcelona, and the Charlotte Roval to bring us all the way through to that season finale right towards the early part of October. Then we head off into the World Finals, where we expect some of the same names and same talent to be a part of that event as well.
Yeah, indeed. That's, of course, feeling a long way away at this moment. As I said, Ryan Odo, and Aiden Young are the ones fighting it out in the pro standings. They are 1 and 2 at the moment. Aiden Young ahead because of bonus points right now. Jose Gonzalez is third, just ahead of Jared Dunkovic and Diego Zuccarelli, tied for fourth. Romain Faux, Jeremy Manella, and Christian Emmanuel, the other pro drivers. WSR Esports with Team ERC are leading the way already by 26 points rather, out of 10 competition with Vima. Passion Sim Esports and Overtake 26 round out the 4 pro teams. In the AM standings, it is much closer as expected. James Fransnick leading only just in front of Maxine Armand. Jesse Lambert, John Benelid rounding out the top 4, covered by only 4 points. A tie for 5th with Cedric Ohayon and Joel Jacqueline. Jean-Francois Larocque is in 7th ahead of Cara Dudgeon, with Kiri Melachina and Tino Rennie rounding out the 10 AM drivers, or the top 10 AM drivers, I should say. There are more of those than there are pros entered, scoring points so far, 15 of them already. It is just past 8 o'clock in the morning, so early on in the day, again here, much like the officials racing this week, which is happening early on in the day here at Laguna Seca. And that's a relief, I think, Ron, to these drivers, because it's a twisty racetrack and it can get very, very hot even at this time of year. Even over the course of a shortish race like this, you wouldn't really want those warm conditions. So drivers will be pleased for an early morning start.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. It can get very toasty in this part of California. Laguna Seca is actually Spanish for dry lake, so that kind of tells you exactly what you need to know about this place. And the layout that we have here, it stood the test of time. The current layout that we have has been in place ever since 1996. But even before then, this track was known to be one that, as I said at the top of the show, is a driver's test. It is a driver's track. Drivers love it. However, they have to really pay attention to try and keep it smooth and try and keep those tires underneath them throughout this race. They do have the benefit of those pit stops, but those are just for fuel, not for the tires. A tire stop, pardon me, would just completely gut your race. So these drivers do have to play a very fine game here in this race. Otherwise, you're going to see them just drop down the running order.
Yeah, indeed. Gal Adrian Cohen doing well there with a lap time up to 2nd place. By the way, that's a fantastic start. Just over half a second behind Aiden Young, who's currently got the best time. Ryan Odo down in 3rd at the moment. It really is a 2-horse race this season. Diego Zuccarelli coming over the hill here and down the famous corkscrew. I'm sure we're going to talk more about the famous corkscrew as we go through, but what a section of corners, and obviously been in iRacing for a very long time now as the Laguna Seca layout, but that has been preserved nicely through this through time, and indeed through this build as well. It never gets any less shocking, I don't think, the steepness of the downhill there and the challenge of the turns coming over the top of the hill there.
And of course, it's a turn that has us race fans kind of I wouldn't say in the downs, but definitely in the fields when we think about that racetrack. Some of the most iconic moments around here at Laguna Seca have happened there at the Corkscrew, notably Alex Zanardi's pass heading into that turn back in 1996. Of course, Zanardi passed away a couple of weeks ago. Still a loss that hurts dearly to us American open wheel fans, and I know there's some calling for that turn to actually be renamed to the Zanardi Corkscrew, but this track has pretty much remained, I wouldn't say unchanged. There have been some changes, including a pretty significant one to add in kind of the opening section of this racetrack that we all know with the Andretti hairpin of turn number 2, and then that 3 and 4 complex. Used to just be a straight shot from turn 1 through into turn 5. They had the Andretti hairpin. It was basically just a kink way back then. But this racetrack is one that those designers, back when they opened this place in 1957, really knew what they were doing, whether it be Corkscrew, whether it be, again, that Andretti hairpin. There are so many iconic turns around this racetrack. Even turn 10, to a degree, the second to last turn, has seen some iconic moments added over the years.
Yeah, that initial layout that ran for 30 years, I've got to say, is quite mind-boggling when you think about today's layout. I think probably for the best that it was changed and that sort of opening section is added in now, but nevertheless, quite something, that previous layout. Anyway, just a minute left in this qualifying session and not many drivers still running here. Gallagher and Cohen going to be one of the last, it looks like, to finish up here. Looks like going to be the pole sitter in the AM class, and indeed gets closer to Aiden Young with that lap as well. It's going to be Young and Odo on the front row as expected, but what a lap time there. Gallagher and Cohen up to the pole in the AMs, and whenever you see an AM out qualifying 2 of the pros, then you understand, yeah, that's a very, very strong lap indeed to take the pole position there.
Yeah, that is a brilliant lap. Those AM drivers, I think as time has rolled along here in this series, they've gotten more and more competitive as time has rolled along. Jared Dunkovich, your reigning, it was actually second place in the AM points last season, your reigning AM World Finals champion there in 2025. He's been super, super quick ever since he got up into that pro category. But those AM drivers here this season, one of the biggest AM fields that we've seen in the history of this series, and one of the most competitive as well.
Let's have a look, shall we, at the starting grid ready for our race here tonight. It is Aiden Young who takes the pole, just 2 tenths in front of Ryan Odo, who's going to have to work hard early to stay with him in this race. Gallagher Cohen is on the pole in the AMs, directly in front of Kara Dudgeon. On the other side of the grid, Jared Dunkovich just in front of Maxime Armand, who rounds off that front 6. Already over a second off pole back here, Diego Zuccarelli, the last of the pros, in 7th, Jesse Lambert in 8th place. James Franzik and John Benelid running out the top 10, with Jean-Francois Larocque and Tino Rene rounding off the front 6 rows. Then it's Brian Nicola, Robert Neville and Joel Jacklin to round out the 15 drivers in the field tonight. 45 minutes on the clock. The system's predicting 35 laps. We'll see how many we actually get. But one thing is clear, Ron, and it has been from the season to now, it's between Aiden Young and Ryan Odo. Those are the ones going head-to-head for the race win here.
Yeah, I know they've taken both of the victories so far here this season. It's really, it would feel just ill-advised to bet against them heading off into this race. And you also have to keep an eye on Ryan Odo, considering he is a California kid. This is basically his hometown race, so let's see what he can do in home soil. But this start is going to be oh so important, as will those pit stops be. They're always very important. Both an odd pit entry and exit here as going to be a real tough tackle, a really tough challenge for these drivers to tackle here tonight.
It absolutely is. Waiting for the front 3 of the front 4 to get themselves onto the grid here. And then we'll be underway. 45 minutes of racing, expecting 2 pit stops here tonight for this race. The drivers start with 20 litres in the tank. The maximum fuel capacity is 30 litres. Those 2 figures should ensure a 2-stop race. But unlike last year, when we had some quite long waiting periods, really, where there was no fighting going on and strategy was still waiting to be worked out, those periods rather gotten rid of here with a 45-minute race rather than a 60-minute. Here we go then. Round 3 of the Radical Sim Racing American Championship from Laguna Seca is underway, and it's not a good start there from Dunkovic in 4th place. The uphill run over the crest of the hill there makes it tricky to get off the line. Oh, and goodness me, we've got a car flying through the air here. 3 cars off into the dirt and another going straight on down at the hairpin. This is going to take someone picking here at the front. Aidan Young and Ryan Odo have stolen the march on the rest of the field. That's no surprise, but we've got big trouble behind. Brian Nicola and Cara Dudgeon have already towed back to pit lane. Joel Jacqueline has got a meatball, and there's loads more involved as well. Robert Neville and Jean-Francois Larocque involved. And Gal-Adrian Cohen, the AM pole sitter, goes wide now, coming through the left-hander of turn 5. That is quite an extraordinary start to this race.
And it was Cara Dudgeon that actually was a car tumbling upside down through the runoff area. I believe James Franzik was the other car that she made contact with that fired her off into that series of rolls. It was an odd incident. We'll have to take a look at several replays of it. And all of that schmozzling, we've actually been able to set the field up fully. Your pro drivers completely separated from the AMs. What a bizarre start to this race. I have never.
Well, I said it's difficult to get off the line, and the crest of the hill there can make things difficult. I didn't expect it to quite be like this. So Cara Dudgeon makes contact with somebody there and spins to the inside wall, and then she's just a ping pong ball, really, and gets hit down the road by a number of different drivers. We're trying to unpick how she actually broke traction initially anyway, but it's a wild ride. And one of those moments, again, where you're pleased that this is a virtual world rather than the real world, because that was a big rollover coming through the dirt and the sand there before we'd even made the Andretti hairpin first time round. And there's the driver's eye view. Yeah, not a great start. Only up to 4th gear before things went wrong. I mean, it's just that crest of the hill. I mean, to be fair, I say it's the crest of the hill. The stuff afterwards could have happened, anywhere, I think, because she's just getting bounced down the road, really. And, I guess the more accurate thing to say will probably be these things just happen on the first lap, and it's a shame that it did happen at that point.
Yeah, the problem with the starts here, I say it's a problem. It's a problem for the drivers. It's something for us here in the broadcast booth to kind of revel in. We always like it when these drivers are slightly uncomfortable. Really tough to get going here, and that was proven by Dudgeon. Gets a bad start, lots of wheel spin off the line. Look at Franzik there in that green car. There's a contact, sends Dudgeon off into the inside wall, and just gets pile driven by several cars who really had nowhere to go there. When you look at this racetrack, yes, it has had many safety alterations. That big track change that I mentioned back in 1987 to try and lure Formula One back in here when they added in the infield was made to try and slow these cars down. But you look at the nature of this track, specifically that start-finish area, you can tell this track was built back in the 50s. Not a lot of room to run or hide. And unfortunately there for Cara Dudgeon, a bad start just snowballs out of control, and she finds herself upside down, 1 lap down at the end of it all as well. Rough start for a driver who was so impressive last time out at VIR.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great race at VIR, actually, in the AM category overall. But, yeah, Dudgeon did a great job. 2nd place in the end, behind Jesse Lambert, who took the victory that day. James Franzik, who joined them on the podium. Franzik involved there, as you say, in that one. Actually, it's dropping down the field now. Tina Rene and Gal-Adrian Cohen gain places. Not a big off for Franzik, but losing a couple of positions nevertheless, losing 4th and 5th. That's the close to side-by-side for Rene and Gal-Adrian Cohen, who also went off. I mean, that's going to go under the radar now in the history books, but there was also a moment through turn 5 for Gal-Adrian Cohen that lost the lead. Cohen now looking for 4th again, and Tina Rene saw the pace in qualifying and has no business fighting with Cohen at this early stage in the race.
And that is a good point to bring up there, talking about the moment for Gal-Adrian Cohen heading off into the turn. As you take a look at there, look at that, just peeking your way through the smoke. Nothing that Brian Nilka could do there, as there was a contact, and there's the car of Cara Dudgeon just tumbling through the runoff area. I am shocked that car was kept within the bounds of the racetrack, I'll be completely honest. But because of that incident, we didn't even pay attention to that off-track excursion there for Cohen heading into turn number 5. Very tough turn. It doesn't matter what kind of car you're running in. It is always going to be one as brutal as, look at that. That's Diego Zuccarelli running wide off into the corkscrew. That's going to allow Dunkovic to grab that P3.
Yeah, that's a gift, really. Zuccarelli ran wide. We've spoken already about how difficult the corkscrew is. Proven so there. So Dunkovic moves up to the top 3. Had a decent run in the Radical Esports Cup on Friday, did Dunkovic, and Zuccarelli now trying to challenge. It's an All-American top 3, as you can see on the left-hand side there. But only just with that pass having just been made. Not far behind these guys, by the way. Jesse Lambert back in the lead of the AM class for the 2nd round in a row. Lambert was pretty lowly in the 1st round, so moved up only to 3rd in the AM standings with that race win a few weeks ago at VIR. But yeah, there's Lambert running nicely, just over 2 seconds at the head of the field, ahead of Maxime Armand. And these are chaotic starts. It's about getting out the other side with least damage done and sort of biggest lead, if you like, or you know, unscathed, if you like, getting away unscathed from the opening lap, and Lambert's certainly been able to do that.
Yeah, so as we have settled into the groove here in this race, with the drivers still tight in, especially up in the front between Aiden Young and Ryan Odo, reigning series champion. Driver finally looking to break through and get that title. Ryan Odo has been 2nd place in the points at the end of the past 2 seasons, looking to finally get that championship. I think it'd be well earned, as that was the sideways snap for Joel Jacklin, heading off into the corkscrew, and actually avoided contact with the barrier there. Make sure you don't play me like a fiddle here, Jacklin.
That was the camera angle, thankfully, that made it look like he'd gone in the wall, but not quite. Go to lap down, though, unfortunately, already. He has been in the pit lane, though, and so has Larocque, so has Franznik. So, as I mentioned earlier, you can make your pit stops, or you can make 2 pit stops here. You should make 2 pit stops. That's the normal number. You can make it from the very first lap past the pit lane, so that's what a couple of drivers have decided to do. Galeda and Cohen, meantime, has had trouble here in the last couple of hours. Tino Rene as well, actually, in this what was a battle for 8th place. Cohen, just a little bit of a blink there for a moment. That's what that was all about. That's why positions were changing down the field, but thankfully Cohen's still going here, and we'll see where the AM pole sitter can get back to. At the moment, 8th place overall and 4th place in the AM class.
So as we look at these drivers running around the racetrack, I figured I'd break out a little bit of Laguna Seca trivia for you here real quick, Ewan. In 1987, they made the big changes to this racetrack, but there was a large gathering here at this event here. It attracted, I believe it was 72,000 people to Laguna Seca. Would you like to have a guess as to what sort of event it was? I'm not sure if you'll be able to guess it in a million years.
Yeah, I'm sure I won't be able to guess. You'll have to put me out of my misery quite quickly.
It was Pope John Paul II who celebrated a mass here back on September 17th of 1987. As you can see, at that point, with Cara Dungeon upside down, she was in God's hands at that point.
Yeah, nice segue. Well done.
Yeah,
it was not a great sight, sadly. Actually, Dudgeon, speaking of which, is just behind Joe Jacklin now by about a second, so might be about to be a position change there as she begins a run back through the field. That's a good statistic, though. Good trivia, rather. There you go. 1987, did you say?
Yeah, 1987. I guess they had to do that then because with the changes, I'm not sure how much racing was held back then. Actually, I think IndyCar was still racing there. That may have been just done in the off season when they changed the layouts.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably just chose the off season. Are you going to tell me as well? Then that's the biggest gathering ever at this venue, is for not racing.
I believe it is up there in the top 3. It's still up there to this day, but it is not number 1. I believe some other events have usurped it in the years since. As that's Joel Jacklin around into 2.
He's already had a spin at the corkscrew, or a half spin, whatever you want to call it. Well, that's another one. Dudgeon up to 13th then overall, and therefore 9th in the AM class. Still a lot of work to do back there. Meantime, the 2 leaders, 10 minutes gone here, and Aidan Young is beginning to stretch out this margin, isn't he? I mean, it would be harsh to say that he's had the measure over Odo so far this season, because he did at the last race, but not at the first. Ryan Odo beat him in that first race, but Aidan Young rather controlled the VIR race, I thought, and he seems to be controlling this one early on as well. And there's the wide moment through the final turn from Odo. 1.3 seconds the gap, and that's the first time it's gone over a second now for Aidan Young, who, can we say, is controlling this race already? I mean, he is to my mind just over 10 minutes gone in this one.
Yeah, I think he certainly is, holding on to a comfortable margin over Ryan Odo right now. Now, we can't really read too terribly much into the last few races at Suzuka and VIR, because those are some very draft-heavy racetracks. You can get some fantastic fuel saving done there. Not saying you can't do it here, but you look at the track map here at Laguna Seca, it is pretty much just a square that these drivers are running around. I would say outside of the right haul straightaway that you can see Aidan Young heading his way up through right now, you've got the start-finish straightaway, and that's basically it in terms of lengthy, flat-out runs of note here in these cars around this track. Whenever I get the opportunity to cover some real draft-heavy cars, either here with the SR10s, Spec Racer Fords, Formula Vs, some slightly lower-powered cars, or ones that just have such an amplified slipstream effect like these SR10s do, you see a different kind of racing than we do at some of the other tracks. Even looking throughout the remainder of this calendar, I think the only racetrack that can come even close to it in terms of not really being too draft heavy would maybe be the next round at Montreal, but again, that's a 1-2 punch with that back straightaway leading right into the start finish straightaway after the wall of champion chicane. So this racetrack, I think, is a bit of an outlier this season in terms of not really giving these drivers any real opportunity to do fuel saving, and not giving them the opportunity to stay tightly knit like we usually do, which is part of the reason why that gap up at the front is now grown to 1.5, nearly 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see some of these similar sorts of gaps going through this race here today. So those who are coming through the field are going to be saviours for us, really. We'll be watching them plenty, I'm sure. Galedra and Cohen not far behind John Benelid now. This is a fight for a podium place already. Going about a third of the way through this race, and recovering to the podium already is a good drive, but this is all allowing the likes of Jesse Lambert to continue to get away at the front, and Maxine Oman not too far up the road, but Lambert is a little bit further over as the corkscrew just catches out John Benelid. He goes wide, and there goes Galedra and Cohen down the inside. Doesn't need a second invitation. And so Cohen is back onto the podium within quarter of an hour. That is impressive stuff. And now he can set his sights on Maxine Oman for second.
So we're a quarter of an hour into this race. We're getting up to the first third being in our rearview mirror. And Ewan, you know what we got to talk about here very, very soon? It's those dastardly old pit stops. This has been something that these drivers have been able to note and enjoy ever since we first tested out this 45-minute long 2-pit stop format at the World Finals last year. I think it's been a really good change. I know the first season that I got to cover this series back in 2024, we ran 45-minute long races along with a 15-minute long sprint and only 1 pit stop during it. Got a little bit spread out. These 2 pit stops, though, really force these drivers to stay on their toes. And getting back to what I said a bit earlier on about the pit entry and exit here, there's really nothing like it. The drivers have to negotiate basically 2 hairpin turns to get into and out of pit lane. One little mistake through there, not only are you going to pick up a penalty and look like a dope here on the show, you're also going to just lose out on a disgusting amount of time and any opportunity to get a good result.
Yeah, I do like the change to a 45-minute race, but keeping the 2 stops. I would have thought that, going back to the 2024 format as John Benelid comes in, so he opens up opportunities like this. Although, to be fair, they probably don't have much further to go on field anyway, now that we're probably in the next 5 or 10 minutes, you'd expect to see everybody in. But yeah, going back to that 45-minute with one stop, I think would take away something. But you've got to remember last year in the hour-long races when there were 2 stops, that there was quite a period of waiting in the middle. It was quite exciting initially as everybody figured out where they were, and quite exciting at the end as well as strategies actually unfolded in the end. But in the middle, there was a lot of waiting because there was an understanding that, well, if we fight, there's others somewhere else on the racetrack here who are on a different strategy completely, and they're benefiting from the fact that we're fighting and squabbling amongst ourselves and not pushing on as quickly as we should be. That period of the race, while it does exist to a degree, it's massively shortened here, because if you look at I mean, just watch how far these guys go now in terms of fuel. See how you'd imagine Aidan Young's going to go as long as possible. You can see these guys going about 20 minutes ish on this first tank of fuel. When you realise some of these guys are going to be filling the tank up to the top and going to the end after their second stop for quite some time, you realise that, yeah, the final stage of the race where strategies unfold and battles begin to happen all over again, that period of the race is much, much longer now, and it makes for an exciting finish, and it comes up quicker to us as well. Lots of stops this time. Everybody put the front 2 in. John Bentley came a lap early, and now he's got himself behind Franzik, who came in on lap number 1, don't forget, or lap number 2, very early on in the race anyway.
And you bring up a fantastic point talking about the change in the format here. It just makes it punchier, not only for us broadcasters, but for these drivers as well. They cannot rest. They cannot take it easy. It is pretty much just a constant game of running as quickly as you can. Little bit of pacing, but it's the difference between pacing yourself for like a 250-meter sprint versus a 500-meter sprint. There you can see sideways step heading out the final turn there. Very lucky to hold on to it. As I will also say, Diego Zuccarelli had a painfully slow stop compared to Jared Dunkovich. He has lost out on about 5 seconds to third.
Yeah, so Zuccarelli 5 seconds behind Dunkovich. His stop was only 2.3 longer, so that's so weird. Jesse Lambert has really caught up as a result as well. Long stop from Maxime Armand and Gal-Adrian Cohen, so watch out for that in the AM class later on as Aidan Young and Ryan Odo come into pit lane. Now then, is Odo going to try and do something here to try and get in front of Young? Because I think he probably has to see what the stop is like for Young. It'll be at least 8 seconds for these guys. He's only going to go for 9. So he's going to make sure that Odo can't undercut him. They've pretty much, I think, both of them taken almost the minimum fuel there. Young 9 seconds, Odo 9 seconds as well. Odo in the hopes that Young would, I don't know, fill the tank up to the top or something, and maybe he could get in the way and do something on strategy. But they're on the same strategy still. And Ryan Odo is going to find it difficult to come back from 2 seconds behind to get past Aidan Young. But it is possible. These two are evenly matched, and we've still got more than half this race left.
See, I will say, talking about your top 2, specifically about Ryan Odo and how he's going to try and play the game throughout this season. Yep, as I've mentioned, I've been able to cover Ryan Odo a lot in these cars, between here in the Radical Americas Championship, his appearance in the World Finals, and even his appearance in the officials when I was doing his broadcast here. I know the kind of driver he is, and I've gotten the opportunity to have a chat with kind of the America's crew, your top 3 of Aidan Young, Ryan Odo, and Jared Dunkovich, a decent amount after these shows. Either me going down there into the interview waiting area once we're done with the show, or sometimes them hopping into the booth as we're doing our little debrief here between us broadcasters. But I know how some of these drivers click. I get the opportunity to speak with them. I know the kind of mindset that they have. I can also know exactly how things kind of work out here as well. Now, Aidan Young, fantastic driver. They're both fantastic up at the top of the field. Aidan Young, actually a driver in Legends cars in real life. He races around the kind of the North Carolina area in some Legends cars. Been able to get some good results from everything that I've heard. Ryan Odo, meanwhile, I said that he's come up close but no cigar over the past few seasons here. Finished second to Lucas Vieira in 2024, finished second to Aidan Young in 2025. Now, though, I think Odo is looking to try and get that championship through the one thing that he's maybe been lacking over the other campaigns: consistency. There's been a couple of mistakes, even at VIR last time out. Ryan Odo will fully admit to these small little mistakes, whether it be just slightly overshooting the pit stall, just, quick little mistake out there in the racetrack, clipping a curb too much and going off the track and losing a couple of seconds. They're not major mistakes, but they're ones that are costly nonetheless in a series as competitive as this. I think Ryan Odo in this race should be happy if he can finish in second, as happy as a racer could be finishing behind their main championship rival. Get those consistent results. Hey, if Aiden Young has some racing obligations a little bit later on in this campaign, he would be happy to slip right into victory lane. I think Odo needs to try and go through this season as consistently as he can. Show the speed, because it's clearly there, but also show some consistency too.
Yeah, and you know, it's a different field this time round as well in 2026, isn't it, compared to previous seasons. Just feel like a two-horse race and has felt from the very beginning, which is much different to what we've seen in the past in this series. As by the way, this is a battle for second place in the AM class. This is Maxime Armand a couple of moments ago through the corkscrew, braking just a bit too late, and surprised he didn't get more of a slowdown through there. He was clearly able to serve it all fine. Gallagher and Cohen headed to the outside there in time for the Andretti hairpin. Couldn't go all the way round. Armand holds on, has another look. Oh, that's brave. Oh no, and he's got it wrong. Gallagher and Cohen was brave on the brakes and he backed out of that. He thought he was going to hit Armand, and I think because he thought he was right, and just as he was sort of halfway committed, he tried to lock up and break out of it, but once you're committed like that, you've got to go through with it, and unfortunately, you can't back out. Here's another look. He's signalled from a long way out, but he realises he's not going to make it, and he makes it worse by locking the tyres there and going straight into the side of Maxime Armand.
Yeah, I think definitely a bit of a panic there as he headed his way into the turn. It's an unfortunately easy mistake, but a mistake nonetheless heading into turn number 3. It is so inviting to go for a move there. You think, okay, I've got this. This feels like a good shot heading into either turn 3 or turn 4. And unfortunately, small little dive ends in big consequences. Certainly for Armand, you're a winner in the opening round of the season at Suzuka. Not going to be able to get that win once again. Low point to race here so far this season. We've had 2 separate winners in the first 2 races in both of our classes. Of course, Ryan Odo was able to get the job done in the pro category at Suzuka. Maxime Armand won in AM at Suzuka. Meanwhile, at VIR is Aiden Young and Jesse Lambert winning in both the pro and the AM category. As it stands right now, and I don't want to count the chickens before they hatch, it looks like we would end both of those streaks with back-to-back winners, which is done a heck of a lot earlier than it was done last season, where we saw different winners just week in and week out.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see whether we get any surprises. I mean, it would be a very big surprise in the pro class, to be fair, but we'll see whether Lambert can go back-to-back here by winning round 2 as well. Maxime Armand, the winner in round 1, by the way, and now a long way down. So Gallagher and Cohen, after that contact, I think initially slowed up as if to try and let Armand back through again. Here you can see it. Here's the moment of lockup, by the way. See, I think he might have made this. I mean, well, maybe he loses the rear end a little bit, but I think if he committed to that properly without, you know, trying to back out, lock it down or whatever, I think he could have made that. But anyway, he did try and get out of it. Unfortunately made contact. It allowed James Franczyk and John Penelid to go through, and now he's trying to retake the place from Penelid. Down the inside, that's too deep as well. Oh wow, that was close. Penelid nearly ran into him that time round, but Cohen has the position. We'll see again whether there's post-race penalties or whatever there's going to be for Cohen, but for now, that was an important pass to make, and he is back ahead of Penelid.
And so Cohen certainly brave on the brakes heading into the turns, getting some moves done. It's not bonsai maneuvers, but it's definitely some deep dives and big lunges heading off into some of these corners. Yeah, this is a very slippery slope, but I guess fortune favors the bold, so I'll bring it up anyways. If I had $1 for every single time that, even just as a broadcaster, I've seen someone unironically say the Senna quote, if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver. That's an off-track moment for Jacqueline heading off through the corkscrew. Same section, he lost it in earlier. He's towed it back to pit lane here. But the amount of times that I've seen drivers unironically say, if you no longer go for a gap, you're no longer a racing driver, I'm not going to say that. However, I will say a technique that Senna used to kind of get into his competitors' minds was basically putting his car in a position where the competitor had to back out kind of what Cohen needed to do heading off with that move that he tried to make not too long ago there on Armand. If he just went for the lunge, licked the stamp and sent it, Armand was going to see that car kind of barreling in on the inside and say, oh, nope, and just panic and try and get out of the way. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Contact was made and Armand was sent around. Sometimes when it comes to a move like that, you kind of have to be all or nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I agree. I mean, as I say, I think he could have actually made that had he sent it more, you know, and commit to it more, which sounds like it's an odd thing to say when they've just made contact, but I think that probably is true. Franznik might well let Cohen go here, not least because of that incident, but because he's in a better fuel situation anyway. Franznik, well, is he? He's in a worse situation, sorry. So he's going to drop away, but either way, they're in different scenarios here. Franznik's got to be needing a stop soon anyway, by the way. He didn't take much fuel when he did, and he has stopped a long time ago. There you go. Goes past again. I do like the fact he's got United States written next to his name there, James Franznik, next to the English flag. That's quite a highly political statement. But anyway, that's what the iRacing graphics have given us. As I say, Franznik not part of this, and he stopped a very long time ago. I mean, it was less than 9 seconds, 16 laps ago. I'm amazed he's still running, to be honest. And the fact we're well into the range of the final pit stop. Jean-Francois Larocque now making his final stop.
Yes, I wonder whether James Franznik's car is powered by just fumes, pixie dust, you know, hopes and prayers, or a combination of all three, but it's working out for him right now, holding on to 7th, and the back of that flag discussion that you mentioned a few moments ago, that caught me out the first time I did a broadcast of James Franznik. I had the opportunity to interview him at the end of that race. I dragged him into the booth expecting to ask him, hey, this is, you know, rather late U.S. time. This is like 2 o'clock in the morning for you there in England. And then he started speaking to me in American accents. Quite a bad case of whiplash there. My neck was starting to hurt once I was done with that show. But James Franznik now pulling down into pit lane there. Had to wonder when it was going to come down, but I believe with this, may be able to run it all the way through to the end. He'd certainly need a big fuel splash, but I think he may be able to make it work.
I think anybody who's coming in at this point will be able to make it. 20 litres took them nearly 20 minutes earlier. So if we... was that true? Yeah, not quite 20 minutes, but you know, you can get 30 litres in these tanks with the capacity limit that we have, so more than enough for you to get to the end, I think. Indeed, 10.7 seconds, there you go. So some of these stops, some of these guys who filled pretty much to the brim, like Cohen and Bentley we just saw, and Armand and Rene did the same, they will all be very short stops. They could be in quite some time as well as we approach the final third of this race. Now have a look at this gap. 2 tenths gained, oh sorry, a tenth and a half gained from Ryan Odo last time round, and 2 tenths the lap before that. There are the last 3. Another tenth the one before that. So maybe this race is not done yet, and maybe Aiden Young has got to watch over his shoulder here. Well, he definitely has to do that, but can Ryan Odo get there? Well, I was a definite in the no camp as they came out the pit lane, to be honest, but he is starting to bring about some doubt now in this race.
And you know, you and me both, and that wasn't just us doubting the skill of Ryan Odo. We were just thinking, okay, he's probably just going to take it easy, settle for second, but it's not the case right now. Odo closing up that margin. He's still not, you know, fully there, but he's certainly a heck of a lot closer than he once was. 1 second the margin as they head their way down the corkscrew off through turn number 9 right now. If Odo can keep up this pressure, this will be real interesting come time for those pit stops. Wonder if they will actually break away here. I keep saying this every single time we do one of these shows, thinking, okay, the dynamic duo, will they be split in their call to come down pit lane? One day I won't say it, and that will be the day that it happens.
Oh, indeed. So these two stopped for only 9 seconds each. We've already seen, I mean, these two will be the next to stop. When they reach their limit, Jesse Lambert should be stopping at a similar point as well, but should be afterwards, not before, or the same. So we'll see how much further it is. This is a reminder of what happened at the start, unfortunately, for Cara Dudgeon, who's covered to 13th, by the way. Joel Jacklin now out of this race, but remarkably, this didn't send Dudgeon out of the race. This is what happened on lap number 1 on the start of this race, and yeah, it was a remarkable start. As you say, maybe a legacy of this circuit, Ron, that that it's so narrow and so on to sort of help to bring about that sort of accident, but I guess as well it was rather unfortunate, really.
Yeah, really just it's a cacophony of bad circumstances that led to that incident taking place. Had Cara Dudgeon gone off to a better start, even if it was just slightly better, those cars wouldn't have been positioned in that way. James Francis sensing the opportunity going for the launch just didn't work out well, as that's a spin for Robert Neville. That's heading out of turn number 3. Neville behind the wheel of the 87 car, losing out on a bit of time there. We haven't really talked about him here in this race. I always love talking about that tartan blue paint scheme out there on the road. With 14.5 minutes left to go here in this race, Ewan, gotta consider those pit stops as the field has been trickling down slowly but surely. Jesse Lambert, the latest to come down pit lane from the lead in the AM category.
Yeah, and so that must mean that either Lambert has gone for a stop that he didn't have to make, i.e. it was a bit earlier than it needed to be, or these two are in pretty much this next lap with less than 15 minutes to go now in this race. I have a feeling it's probably the latter, but let's see. Just under a second now for the first time in a while as well. Flat to the lights from Odo. Maybe trying to get into the head of Aiden Young, but that's going to be tricky. Over the top of the hill, loses about a tenth or so. And last lap, by the way, he lost a bit of time as well. Less than a tenth of a second, but nevertheless, he did lose some time. Let's see what happens here as they come towards the line. It's a stop for Odo. It's not the limit in terms of fuel, clearly, because Aiden Young can carry on, but Ryan Odo comes in a lap early. He wants to do something different to try and steal this race win away.
I had a feeling that somebody was going to break away and do something different, so it's Odo the first to bite that bullet, come down pit lane, and Jared Dunkovich going to follow in suit. Will Diego Zuccarelli follow in that call? He had a very long stop, certainly longer than Dunkovich. He may decide to come down pit lane next time by. Come in with Aiden Young. I believe that will be the case. Yes, it will. He stays out. Odo now on pit exit. It's his marks pretty all right run through pit lane for the driver, the number 15 machine. Just has to nail his marks down through the downhill braking zone on the inside of the Andretti hairpin. Gets out of pit lane perfectly smooth. Now the pressure's on Young.
Well, it's also on Odo because he's not that far behind Zuccarelli, who could really trip him up in this race if he gets in the way, slows him down in this battle. We're still waiting for Diego Zuccarelli to make his final pit stop, but he stopped for a lot longer than Young and Odo, so if he wants to, he can stay out for longer. Young responds though. He doesn't want to go on any further with Odo around the other side of the racetrack gaining time. And so Aiden Young comes in and responds. Odo not being slowed down yet by Diego Zuccarelli, so it's not too bad. Over the top of the hill through the corkscrew. Young flashing the lights, of course, signing he's on the pit limiter. For reference, the stop from Odo was 9.4 seconds exactly. Let's see what it is for Young as he tries to preserve that near 1 second lead he had before this pit stop phase. Here we go. Zuccarelli comes in, by the way, freeing up Odo. But it's 7.8 from Aiden Young. Unless he makes a mistake on the way out of pit lane here, he's going to be leading this race by at least what he was before, if not more. Down the inside of the Andretti hairpin he goes, breaks late and gets close to going off the road, I must say. But it's a nice stop, and it's a preservation of that lead. In fact, it's an extension of that lead to about 1.5, 1.6 seconds.
I will say, though, they have some lap traffic right in front. That's Laroque right up in front that they're going to have to contend with here soon. So this may bring Odo back into the fight. The gap didn't balloon out like crazy. Certainly grew ever so slightly, but only a second and a half between those two cars. So Odo just needs one small little push to be back in the race, back in the running. And Aiden Young having to push that car, get the tires back up into a good operating window as he's dealing with the dirty air, which around a racetrack like this is absolutely brutal. Oh, this got getting really scary. sketchy heading into turn number 9. Look at him diving down the inside. LaRoque tried to figure out any way to let him by, but that was just a worst case scenario for all parties involved. And now Ryan Odo gonna get stuck. He's gonna be stuck around the outside. This is,
Oh, and LaRoque there stays on the inside, then forced on the outside, and well, they just about get away with it, but that wasn't ideal. LaRoque goes a lap down for the first time. Brian Nicholas just in front as well, and a flash of the lights from Odo here, as if to say, I'm still coming here. And there's a lock-up from Nicola now, who's on the apex there, just on the exit of the corner. That was in front of Aiden Young this time, and the lap traffic's playing a big role here in the latter moments of this race, but that might be it for them now. Brian Nicholas got 50 seconds up ahead to Cara Dutton, so that shows you how far away they are from putting anybody 2 laps down. LaRoque 13 seconds behind Tino Rene. They might catch Rene at the very end of this race, but it won't be much before then. 1 second the gap. Time, though, not on Odo's side. It is less than 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, so at this point for Ryan Odo, you gotta throw something big here. And if you don't, you know, it's still second place. I'm not sure how many people would complain about getting second place points, but it would be a second race loss in a row. As I do want to commend the recovery drive that Gal Adrian Cohen has been able to put on so far here in this race. Currently holding on to P3 as it stands at the present moment. Now, this P3 is a tentative third, considering yet to come down pit lane for the final stop. But after going off the track, spearing off the road, been able to put on a good bounce back performance, and has Jared Dunkovich right behind. Now, if this pit stop does come to pass the way that we do, it's not going to be Gal Adrian Cohen holding on to the race lead. As I'll look at that, that's a big block being thrown towards Jared Dunkovich. Heading down that start finish straightaway, they're going to continue to squabble heading into the Andretti hairpin. Dunkovich going to say, okay, just let me by, buddy. We're in a different class. Just let me go into 30. You still have to worry about the pit stop. But Cohen not backing out yet. Dive into turn number 3 is where it ended in tears for Aaron, and nearly ends in tears once again.
Oh no, and it does. Coming through turn 3, there's more trouble for Cohen now. Maxime Armand's on the scene very soon here, going to have to get out of the way, and he does. Slightly unorthodox, but he does.
Whoa.
And careful on the rejoin. No. Zuccarelli there with his heart in his mouth, I'm sure. Still waiting, as you say, for a pit stop from Cohen. So I've no idea really why he was fighting, but the incident itself was very, very strange.
Yeah, no, I think as soon as that pendulum started to swing as they headed their way out of turn number 3, that car was gonna loop around, and eventually it did in the approach to turn number 4. Let's take a look at this here. There's a side-by-side squabbling. I gotta say in all of this, as we'll call this through into turn number 3, that was Dunkovich and Cohen making a little bit of contact, and Cohen trying to fight back, and there was the extra bit of contact. I think it was like pendulum swinging at the back of the car, as well as a little bit of wheel spin. I have no idea why Gal Adrian Cohen thought that was the right call to fight that as hard as he did. Didn't really need to. There was no sense in fighting that hard, throwing a block that nearly sent a guy off into the pit wall. I can understand battling hard for position, but with a pit stop off in the distance, I just don't understand the point of any of that. That was unnecessary, I think.
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. That was slightly unusual. By the way, at the race, the only driver at the race so far, Joe Jacklin, says that his VR headset froze when he had that moment through the corkscrew, and he apologised to whoever it was behind. That wasn't an ideal rejoin at all. Diego Zuccarelli would have been absolutely well scared, let's put it that way, from that moment. But in the meantime, Ryan Odo has caught Aiden Young, and that is amazing, really. I didn't think he was going to get there, but he has done. There could still be 6 laps to go as well, by the way, even with 6.5 minutes remaining. I mean, we'll have to ask them, and hopefully they will both come for a chat after the race, but I can't understand quite where the difference in speed would have come from here. Barely anything's changed. Track temperature hasn't changed. The fuel loads between these two and everything strategy-wise has been almost identical. Can't quite understand why Ryan Odo's been much quicker in the second half of this race than he was in the first.
Yeah, I think he's just attacking it right now. I'm seeing Odo head his way into the braking zones much deeper, much later than he is. And looking at the pace that Ryan Odo has been able to set, he set his personal best lap of the race just 2 laps ago on lap 28. So he is pushing that car to the extremes right now, is all over the back of Aiden Young. And I will say, with 5 minutes and 40 some odd seconds left here on the clock, Tino Rene is not too far up the road. We said that was going to be probably the final bit of lap traffic, which, considering Maxime Armand is heading his way out of the Andretti hairpin right now, it's certainly true. But that one bit of lap traffic, depending on where it falls, which based off the gap right now, I'm going to suspect it may go down this lap maybe. This is not ideal at all for Aiden Young, who's really slowing in. Odo is looking for it around the outside.
Gives him the inside for 3 and 4 if he can stay there. Young's not going to let him, though. That was harsh defending, but Odo can't go all the way around the outside there. And this is where the details of this racetrack really come to the fore, because we haven't really had the chance to watch a long battle between 2 evenly matched drivers just yet, but there aren't too many. Oh, no, they've made contact! The big rivals have made contact at turn 5! Odo into the back of Aiden Young. There was weaving around going on towards the braking zone. Odo's not slowing down. Young's picking himself out in the sand. That's it. That's game, set, and match. Ryan Odo's going to go on to win this race as long as there's no damage for either of the 2 of them here. They might be both limping home, but it's contact between the championship rivals, the 2 championship contenders. Early storylines being written here on round 3 with contact between Ryan Odo and Aiden Young.
And I fear that may have been self-inflicted there on Aiden Young. You can see he was moving, heading into the braking zone, and pulled off a reactionary block. Now, proactive blocks, that's fine. When you pull off a move, covering off an approach before the driver behind you does, it was the initial move, and then the second one, that's where the contact was made. He moved and then broke almost immediately after. It was really touch and go there from Aiden Young. I'm not really sure if Odo had any opportunity to try and respond there. I think that was just Aiden Young feeling a boatload of pressure that was ramping up more and more as time went along. That's the way that I personally see that. I think it was a bit of a reactionary move there from Young, and a pretty big one heading into the braking zone, one of the heaviest of the lap. I don't know, the way that I personally see that, I don't think that Young should be too upset about that. I think, considering the circumstances, there's not a lot that Odo could have done.
Yeah, well, I think we'll be able to chat to both of them, but I agree. I think that was quite a reactionary move from Aiden Young there, which is so unlike him, by the way. Very unlike him. And Odo's now slowing. Is he giving the place up maybe here? Has he decided eventually to give up the place? I mean, I've never seen anybody continue on for so long before actually giving up the place. This, by the way, is going to reduce the amount of laps in the race to just 2 more. There was going to be 3 more after this, but Odo here is letting Young back through, I think, and I don't see any reason as to why he should be doing this, but he's decided a few laps later to slow down and give up the place.
Yeah, this is sportsmanship here from Ryan Odo, but and there you can see it. There it is, Aiden Young able to get past, heading down the start-finish straightaway. As you just said there, Ewan, I am all for sportsmanship. I love it when the drivers show it.
It's not sportsmanship, that's a gift.
Yeah, that is a fantastic gift there. I think Aiden Young should be very happy about that. I think Odo, what he decided to do there, he didn't want to give up the spot. I think he wanted to win it on the road, not win it through an incident. And there you can see Aiden Young. He goes for the dive, heading into the turn. Aiden Young, I think, broke a little bit early heading in there. I think these 2, they're close buddies here in the Radical Sim Racing world. I think he wanted to win it on the road, and he did, but he got the move done, ran a little bit wide, heading out of turn number 7. And here he goes, fighting back once more.
Yeah, Young's not going to go around the outside there. I think he's got some rear-end damage, to be honest with you, after the contact. He did a 18.3 last time round. That's over a second slower than what he should be doing. You know, you can say, you know, he wants to settle it on the racetrack instead. I mean, it already has been settled, really, in the contact because of the damage given to Young. So it's a bit late for that. Anyway, white flag might well be waved here. Just keep an eye on the starter stand because, as I say, we were expecting to have There we go, white flag. So we are only going to get one more. We were going to have two more, but the incident and the faffing here from these two has meant that we're shortchanged by one lap here tonight. Through the Andretti hairpin, Odo defends, and Young is giving up this a bit of a fight here, even despite the damage that he seems to have.
Oh, he's got damage all around that race car, damage at the front, damage at the back, but he has given it the old college try. Odo runs wide. That's going to give the race lead back to Young.
Wow, that is such a gift. If Ryan Odo doesn't win this race, he has the right, I think, to be livid with himself. He should absolutely win this race by some seconds, but he might not do that at the moment. Young all of a sudden looking a little bit stronger, looking a little bit less damaged, I've got to say. Maybe Odo's got some damage here he's contending with as well. They come to the corkscrew. They might only be chance for a last corner dive now, and those are never going to go down too well. Through the final sector they come, through the sweepers. Odo's nowhere near, really. I wonder whether he does have some damage of his own. Aiden Young, oh, and he's off. Ryan Odo off for the second time in the lap. Aiden Young somehow going to win this race. A remarkable, strange, unusual finish here at Laguna Seca that Aiden Young takes the victory in the Radical Sim Racing Americas Championship. Ryan Odo somehow has not won that race.
You know, honestly here, Ewan, I am totally befuddled as to how all of that took place. Again, I understand good sportsmanship. I understand trying to win it on the road, but I'm not really sure what to say. Jesse Lambert, in the meantime, going to make it 2 in a row for him as well. So it's 2 victories in a row for Young, 2 victories in a row for Lambert. That's a good result for him in that AM Class Championship battle. But I am gobsmacked as to how all that took place at the front of the field. I think a big and costly mistake there from Aiden Young. An uncharacteristic one, as you said at the time as well, feeling a boatload of pressure, and the pressure cracked him. And after the pressure cracked him and he went off the track and the contact was made, Ryan Odo decided to give it up once more. Great sportsmanship, but as you said, an even better gift.
Oh, absolutely. What an unusual race. Aiden Young wins in the end by 4/10 of a second ahead of Ryan Odo, with Jarrett Dunkovic and Diego Zuccarelli, the other pros, getting home 3rd and 4th. Jesse Lambert wins in the AMS, as you say, his 2nd win of the season. John Penlid and James Franznik also on the podium. Maxime Armand and Tino Rene, the last ones on the lead lap. Jean-Francois Larocque drops off the lead lap late on there. Robert Neville and Cara Tudjin 1 lap down. Brian Nicola 2 down, with Gallagher and Cohen retiring late on there. Joe Jacklin retiring a little bit earlier on in the first half of that race. We'll just hang on for a moment while the drivers get themselves into the waiting room ready for a chat. But I don't know what either of those two are going to say, Odo or Young, at the moment. I wonder if they've been conversing during the race, and so maybe that would explain a little bit more of what we see.
Yeah, I know they're usually I mean, they are technically teammates there as well. So lost up in that being the collision between championship rivals. That was a teammate collision there as well. But I am still at a loss for what a bizarre race. You know, any race that starts off with a driver flipping about 3 times heading into to turn number 2 here. I guess that kind of was, you know, the start of a very odd set of circumstances that surrounded this race. I've gotten the opportunity to cover the Radical Americas Championship now since the start of the 2024 season. I have never seen a race stranger than this.
No, absolutely, and we're still waiting for them, by the way, to get in the waiting room as we have a look at some of the highlights from the racing that has gone on here tonight. A couple of the spins and crashes that went on early on in this race, including that start one, as you say, a big start one. I mean, great job from Cara Tudjin to get back to 12th and salvage some points from this race. Unfortunately, not anywhere near as many as VIR, that's for sure. Aiden Young has finally got himself into the waiting room, so we can chat to him now. Aiden, welcome in. Good to have you with us. What would you say about that final part of the race there? It looked very strange from where we were, to be honest with you, what was going on. Talk us through the incident, first of all, the contact between yourselves, and then what happened afterwards from your perspective.
Yeah, I just took a little bit too little of fuel in the pit stop. It probably should have gone at least 0.5 liters more and I would have been fine, but I was having to save because my thing said I had like, we came to like, I think it was 5 to go when the contact happened, and it said I had 4.85 laps of fuel, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna make it unless I do some crazy fuel saving. So like, I had a second back to Ryan, and I lifted heavily into turn 1 to get the fuel back, and then it worked. And then I tried to do it again by, you know, using the fuel save as a way to block Ryan going into the uphill left before Andretti corner, leading to the straight to the corkscrew. And I tried to be predictable, and I mean, his spotter says I was, so that was good. And I lifted, I think, when he didn't expect it, and so because of that, he was gonna brake late and try to send it on me. And when I lifted, he couldn't react in time, so he just hit me, and I just went off. And after that, I was trying to drive carefully because my steering was kind of put off to the right. I had bent steering, and the rear wing felt like it was gone. I had no rear downforce, and I had a bit of front right splitter damage, which was making the car really hard to turn and pretty slow on the straightaway. But I mean, yeah, it was just a racing incident. I'm not mad at Ryan. I mean, he gave it back, so that's good. I mean, we had a talk because we were in the voice chat together, and I was like, hey, I did the same thing a few years ago. Don't feel bad. And then he just goes, okay, I'll just give it back to you because it's the right thing to do.
Well, fair enough. I mean, so were you talking the whole time, or was that conversation only just made after the incident?
We were kind of just running our own 2 separate races. Ryan had his own strategy. I had my own strategy. It worked out for the whole first half of the race, and then second half of the race, I tried to do, like I said, I tried to do a little bit under what I probably should have done. Like my fuel calc was saying 14.5, and me and my dad talked, and he goes, no, he goes, let's try to go 13.5, 14.0, and I was like, okay. So I tried it, and for a bit there, it was saying it was going to work. It's saying I was going to have like 0.5, 0.6 left over at the end of the race. But then as Ryan started getting faster, all of a sudden my fuel calculator updated and said I wasn't going to finish the race. It said I was going to run out with like, I think 3 or 4 corners to go.
Yeah. Well, thankfully you did make it in the end. The track position probably did win you the race in the end, among lots of other things, of course. Thanks for coming to chat to us there after the race, Aiden, as always, and congratulations on the win tonight.
Thank you. See you guys at
Thanks
the next
so
round.
much. That's Aiden Young, the winner, just in front of Ryan Odo, who can join us as well. Ryan, welcome in. Good to have you with us. I'll pose the same questions to you because we just spoke to Aiden about the incident and what happened afterwards. Just tell us about the incident, the contact between you and afterwards from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it was really unfortunate. It's nothing, you never want that to happen in racing, especially for the win. So I decided that I was going to back off, let him by, and then I was going to have us battle it out. But by then, my tires were already completely messed up, and I didn't get a chance to fight back. Aiden played it really well, and yeah, I just completely messed that one up.
Yeah, the final lap of the race, is that all you'd put it down to? Just tires having gone away, really, and you didn't have anything left there on the final lap?
Yeah. I pushed really hard in the second stint, and I was making up some ground on Aiden, and then also really hard on the third stint. And by the time I caught Aiden, I was already experiencing a lot of understeer, and then I got into the dirty air of Aiden. I was even more understeer, so that's why I was wanting to make the move as quickly as possible, so that way I didn't have to sit behind him and have my front suffer any longer. And also because I noticed that he was saving fuel, so hoping that I could run away. But yeah, really unfortunate about that, and I completely messed that one up.
Well, congratulations anyway on getting to second place here tonight once again. Thanks for coming to chat to us at the end, and I'm sure we'll see you again at the next round.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ryan Odo, second place here tonight overall. Let's chat to Jarek Dunkovic as well, who finished in third overall tonight. Jarek, welcome in, and congratulations on a third place run. How was that race for you? We didn't see too much of you in the end, but you actually ended up only just about 6 seconds off the win there. How was the race?
Yeah, Ewan, thanks for having me here. Yeah, the race was definitely just the pace was not quite up to par is where it needed to be. But you know what? Hey, the guys up ahead of me are very talented and definitely fast. But hey, that little bit of contact going into, what was that, turn 3 or 4? Actually, no, turn 5. Yeah, that definitely helped. So I was really pushing like the last couple of laps just to try to catch up if there was anything left to catch up for. But we'll go put back to the drawing board, try to learn some more pace and see where I can gain. But yeah, you know, it's learning troubles. I mean, hey, moving up to the pros, and that's it. These are the big guys and these are the fast guys. So you know, we're gonna have to just keep chipping away at it and see where we can end up.
Yeah, how does that sort of shape your approach to these races? Because you've got these two drivers at the front who are just so unbelievably quick in any field, not least this field here in Aiden Young and Ryan Odo. Does it make you prepare in any different sort of way, or think about these races in a different way? It's sort of a third place is almost a victory for the rest. You know, for the rest of you fighting for third place. You know, you've beaten Diego here today, but you know, might swing the other way next round or whatever, or whoever else it is against. Over the course of the season. Does it feel almost like a small victory finishing in third place in this series behind those two?
Oh, absolutely. Those guys they're so freaking fast. I mean, there's been a few times when I can run pretty darn close in pace with them. I know there's a few tracks that, you know, kind of keep me in play, but moving up, like you said, it does change your mindset. I mean, hey, listen, everyone goes out there to try to win, right? So, I mean, I try to go and try to be the fastest I can each round in and out and try to be as consistent as possible. Last round was a little bit my own fault and my own screw up. But, you know, like you said, Ewan, it's 100%. You just focus and try to do the best you can. You know, if I'm within 4/10 of their time, least posted up or at least coming a few days before the race, I consider that a small victory, at least in the eyes of it. And hey, you know, just more and more time and more seat time, and hopefully I'll be right there with them. But yeah, thanks. Or at least that's at least my opinion on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for chatting to us, Jarrett, as always, and congrats on a podium overall tonight.
Thanks, Ewan. And you guys have a good rest of your night.
Thanks very much, Jarrett Junkovic, third place overall tonight. We've got time as well to chat to the AM winner as well, Jesse Lambert, who joins us here finally. Jesse, welcome in. Congratulations on an AM victory here tonight. Quite a big gap, actually, in the end. What do you think was the key to your victory?
Yes, sir. Thank you guys very much. Very happy to be here. I think the key to my victory, was being clean. Unfortunately, Kara got into a big crash on the start. Also, the boys, Ryan and Aiden, helped me on strategy. So it was a very good race. At the end, it got a little bit scary. I was close to getting a penalty for track limits, but luckily we made it back with no penalty. And also, to add, the last race we finished on 0 laps of fuel left. This time we finished on 4. So a little too much, but definitely an improvement. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, much better that way round than
yeah, exactly.
0 laps or
less
whatever.
Stressful.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's your second winning class in a row now as well, and it's going to start to counteract the first round, which didn't go quite so well, and probably gives you the early championship lead now as well after only 3 rounds. So you must be feeling that the first part of this season has started to really pick up now.
Yes, very much, and I'm very excited. Especially being that next week I'll be racing a Radical in real life. So it's pretty fun to be practicing on the Sim 2 and doing well at it. So very excited, and I'm excited to start catching up, hopefully, to Ryan and Aiden. But yes.
Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that in the real world next week. Thanks for chatting to us tonight, Jesse, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you guys very much.
Thanks very much, Jesse Lambert, the AM winner here tonight from Laguna Seca. Well, probably the race of the season so far. Make sure you join us back again here in 4 weeks' time when we're on the Adelaide Street Circuit on June 7th. That'll be starting, as always, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, just after 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on a Sunday night. So I hope you can join us for that. In the meantime, on the RaceSpotTV and iRacing YouTube channels, we'll be live with Radical Esports Cup ratings. Some familiar faces here. It's at 2100 GMT. That is at, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, so it might be a little bit early for some of you. But either way, if you can get down there on a Friday evening, then you'll be very welcome to come along and join us for those races on Friday nights between now and then as well. For now, I've been Nuno Leary alongside Ron Mavs with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras of this Racespot TV broadcast of the Radical Sim Racing Americas Championship. Until we see you next time out to Adelaide, it's goodbye for now.